Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Mr. Roshan Farhan, who is the founder of Gobillion, which is making e-commerce social for the next 40 crore customers in tier 2 cities of India. Roshan was also part of Y Combinator program last year, and his venture is backed by people like founder of Tinder and couple of venture capital funds. Hi Roshan, welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya. Thanks for having me. Really excited and honored to be part of this podcast with you as well. Heard a lot of great things about ELI and super privileged to be part of this program today.
Good to hear that. I would request you to introduce yourself to our audience.
Absolutely. So I'm Roshan Farhan. I'm the founder and CEO of Gobillion. We are a social commerce startup, backed by Y Combinator and top tier global VC funds in the US and of course in India, Southeast Asia.
Mhm.
So Priya, our mission at Gobillion is to make e-commerce social and accessible for the next 50 crore customers in small towns in India.
Okay.
And how we do that, yeah, is we enable customers in small towns to socially group buy together in the
Mhm.
GoBillion app,
Okay.
especially on categories like groceries, daily essentials, fruits and vegetables.
Mhm.
And if they buy together in groups on the app, they get significant discounts of up to 95%.
Okay.
And we are just to kind of define the problem, right? I come from a small town. I was born and brought up in Guwahati.
Mhm.
And of course, my co-founder was also my very, very good friend, Kulpradeep Bharali. Both of us come from small towns in Assam, in the eastern part of the country.
Mhm.
And growing up, you see how different life is. Growing up in small towns as opposed to, let's say, someone growing up in a Delhi or a Mumbai or a Bangalore.
Mhm.
And a lot of the activities that we do together are very social in nature, right? In fact, I have good memories of me growing up, celebrating festivals, doing, playing cricket matches, doing a lot of activities together. And
Mhm.
shopping itself is a very, very social activity in small towns as well. I'm
Right.
sure, you'd also have a lot of friends from small towns. They'll also tell you that, growing a social, the social connection in small towns between friends, families, relatives, neighbors is very strong compared to, let's say,
Right.
the
Right.
larger cities where people are so busy, right?
Yeah.
And we realize that gap, right? But we have seen, growing up, I used to see my mom go to the neighborhood wholesale market to buy rice or atta, or let's say, she'll figure out where the best, vegetables are at the best prices. And they'll go as a group, right? She'll go with a group of neighborhood aunties and try and buy together. They'll always bargain on the doorstep of the vendor or the shopkeeper. And this
Mhm.
core need that, buying socially with other friends or neighbors or, family members,
Mhm.
always getting the best price out of it is very core to small town Indians that we have seen growing, especially in the lower income segments and the middle income segments, right? And that's the
Right.
target group that we have, right? We're serving
Mhm.
low income segments and middle income segments. And that's
Mhm.
how Gobillion came about. We realized there's a gap in giving, in meeting the core needs of customers in small towns, giving them social experience that they enjoy in the real lives on the app, and
Mhm.
also giving the best deals possible that they can get, right? And that's
Mhm.
how Gobillion came about. We can group buy on the app and get significant, deals and discounts on the purchases.
Okay. Uh, so the problem that you are solving, is it? I'm just wondering, is it not solved yet through the traditional e-commerce players like Flipkarts or Amazons of the world? Or if it has not, then where is the gap? What what different are you doing in terms of delivery model or product?
Absolutely, I think great question there, Priya. So let us go back a bit, back in time and answer that historically, right? So
Sure.
you have to like really understand how e-commerce in India started. If you actually go back to 2008, 2009, when Flipkart started in India, around 2012 to 2013, when Amazon came to India, which is like purely e-commerce 1.0 as you call it. So their focus is very clear, right? So serving the first 10 crore or 100 million customers of the large cities, Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, Hyderabad, Calcutta to an extent,
Mm.
and giving them a set of assortment, convenience that hey, you will get this delivered to your house and whatever incremental discount you have. But the core customer focus was very different, right? They're focusing on upper middle class customers which value convenience, who don't want to go back to the retail store or the supermarket or the electronic store, who
Mm.
want that item home delivered and get whatever incremental discount. So the customer focus number one is different. And number two, the geographical focus is different. They're absolutely tier one focus, metro city focus, right? And of course, as
Okay.
the businesses grew, they also started expanding to tier two cities. But the company's mission was very still kind of focused on larger cities. So what
Mm-hmm.
did these big companies realize that as they started expanding and they started getting new customers from smaller towns, especially I think the pivotal moment was 2016, 2017 when Geo started kind of launching the telecom services. and a lot of new customers started coming online, right? They realized that, hey, this customers are very different needs, right? They are not similar to the customer I'm serving in Delhi or Gurgaon, for example. And as I mentioned, right, this new set of customers that started coming in, the next 30, 40 crore customers, had very different needs, right? And just to kind of repeat it again, number one, they are very socially connected to their societies or communities. So they value a very social experience in their shopping online, which they already do in the offline real life, number one.
mm,
Number two, they're extremely price conscious, extremely value conscious. Typically, there's a middle class or low income customer segments. Forum price is a very important motivator. And lastly, they have an intrinsic trust deficit on the incumbent e-commerce models. They don't trust new models coming in easily because they have more trust in the kirana store nearby. They know the shopkeeper for a very long time. They enjoy the conversation. They'll go there and buy that. So they said, hey, the current e-commerce model doesn't serve my core needs. It might serve the core needs of the large city customer audiences, but in small towns, my needs are not just kind of properly served, right? And that's how we saw the gap. Even the people are trying to buy online in small towns that we kind of saw in our own family and friend circles, but there was a lot of dissatisfaction there that I still don't get the pleasure that I get when going to an offline format store. And that's
mm,
how it came about. That's how we realized that this is a problem area. Let us solve for the next 50 crore customers now coming online who are already consuming content, who are already part of the ecosystem. Let us tailor made our e-commerce product for this set of customers. So just to kind of summarize, of course, the current e-commerce models don't really serve for the intrinsic behavior or customer needs in small town customers. And Gobillion recognizes opportunity mostly because both of us come from small towns and a lot of the founding team members are from small towns. So
mm.
at some level, we are our own customers themselves. We understand the problem very deeply, and that's how we started as well. And just to give a historical perspective, we commercially launched our operations in early 2021 last year, Feb 2021, and we've grown exponentially since then. So if you compare our growth, let's say last Feb 2021 and now as of May, over the last 15 months, we have grown almost 1,200 times in our GMV or top line gross sales. And that's the kind of growth that you've seen because we are very clear on the customer segment, on the kind of products we're software to kind of focus on, and of course getting it to the market as soon as possible.
Okay. Now you have defined the problem statement. You have also, in a way, given a glimpse of how does the product and the delivery model works. Uh, Tell us about the business side of it. How are you able to uh, give this the best price and the social experience uh, at a cheaper cost, or how do you make money? What is your catch? How do you make money?
God, I think great question. So let me answer this in two parts, right? Firstly, let's talk about the product, how the product or the app is very different from a lot of the other apps in the market. Then we'll talk about what the business model is, how we source our inventory, how we get the best prices, and how we give it to the last mile
Mm, mm,
customers, and finally, how do we make money as well. The first part is this, right? So, Priya, we are very excited that we have built a global first product. We
mm,
call it Gobillion shopping rooms. It's very similar to an Instagram or a Clubhouse which you have used, right? I'm sure a lot of our generation uses Instagram or Clubhouse or to an extent
yeah.
Facebook. So the focus is this, right? So our product optimizes for product discovery, social gamification, and social sharing, right? So the
Mhm,
same way if you go to an Instagram, right, you'll keep scrolling through your feed, right? And there's an element of discovery. You don't know what video or reel or photo comes next. And that element of discovery is also what is very exciting about a social media app. So we build this in, right? So if you keep scrolling, you'll see different deals coming in depending on how many people in your locality or city are buying that. So the most viral deals will come from the top, uh, or the most bought after deals will come on the top. Similar to if you let's say like multiple Facebook or Instagram posts, they come on the top of your feed, right? So that's the kind of discovery that you built in. A lot of gamification features that you're bringing in so that customers don't just come to the app for shopping only. It's an overall experience that we build in. Shopping, of course, is the most important kind of trajectory or customer journey. A lot of gamification features that you're building in that a small town customer audiences really love.
mm,
And of course, the core of the model is social sharing, right? You go to a deal. Let's say you want to buy a Ashirwad Atta 5 kilo pack, right?
okay.
The core journey is you'll have two options. You can buy alone. Let's say Priya, you don't want to share with anyone, of course, but the price will be not too discounted, very close to the MRP. But
Mm,
there's an option called as buy a deal price or joint shopping deal, right? If
okay.
you click that price, you get the best price in the market in whichever city we are present in. And if
Mm,
you keep sharing this deal with your friends and tell your friends to also come and join this, transaction, very similar to an online Ludo game. And I'm sure at some point in our lives we've played an online Ludo game. You create a game, share with your friends, and they join and play together. So if your friends come and join together and build a team, depending on the team size can be as low as 5 people, can be as high as 100 people.
Mm.
then everyone gets a significant amount of cash back or also incentives, and the price also keeps falling down.
Right.
And that way people find a very social environment. It's similar to going to a visual mandi, right? So if you go to a visual mandi or visual in the market, you see different customers coming in. There are different shopkeepers. People are buying. It's like a bazaar, right? So we are recreating that virtual bazaar in a way in the Gobillion app, and people can see, hey, let's say Priya has also bought this, potatoes, or let's say my friend Rakesh has bought this, tomatoes, or it's my friend Kulpuri who's buying this packet of atta, and that environment is very social set. People really love the experience, and it's a global first product. Of course, there are other group buying models, globally speaking. So there's Pinduoduo in China, which is the world's number one. There's Facile in Brazil, which is the world's number two. Similar models in Indonesia, Vietnam, other emerging economies. But we are one of the pioneers in the B2C group buying space in India. We launched in Guwahati, now we are in Calcutta and launching in multiple states and cities over the next few quarters as well. So that's how the product works. And people really love the product. We're seeing industry leading customer retention and customer frequency of purchase. Right? So if you come to the app, Priya,
Mm.
the metrics that you're seeing right now, of course, I can't disclose it publicly, but it's industry leading, right? In fact, if you come in, the number of times you'll buy in a month on the app, the amount of retention that you're seeing over let's say 4 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks is
Mm.
industry leading as well. And the reason is people love the product, they love sharing, and they're sticky around it.
Mm.
So that's the first part of the product, Priya. Now come to the second part of how the business works, right? Of how we source, how we get this best margins compared to, let's say, any competition in the market, be it a GeoMart or a Big Basket. So,
Mm.
firstly, what we realize, the customers we focus on, which is the low income customers and the mid income customers, have to an extent very similar consumption patterns, right? They'll have similar brands of atta or chawal like that. So we realize that we'll have a very focused assortment. We'll not be as wide as a GeoMart or a Big Basket, right? We'll not have like a
Mm.
1 lakh SKUs or 1 lakh. We'll have a more, focused SKUs footprint like 2,000, 1,500 SKUs, which services or caters to almost 80% of the customer's needs in his or her
Mm.
kitchen
Mm.
or
Mm.
household, right? And because we have very focused assortment around 1,500, 1,000 SKUs, we our demand in these SKUs is much deeper, it's much stronger, right? So we can source better than most of the competition. Let's say there's another competition X in the same city we're launching in, but that competition might have like 50,000 products in that app, while we have 2,000 products. But because there's so much demand and virality in these 2,000 products, we generally get much better margins from the manufacturers or the super stockists we source from. On
Mm.
average, Priya, the reason why we unlock better margins, we directly try and source from the manufacturer for a majority of our products.
Mm.
For the brands which we can't source from manufacturer at this stage of scale because of we're still young, we'll source from the super distributor or the super stockist from the state. And because we try and go as up the value chain as possible, we get incremental sourcing or supply chain, margins which other vendors or other competition doesn't get. And we pass the entire benefit of discounts to the customer because you want the end customer to win. Because you're buying socially, we know you're extremely price conscious. You want to give the benefit of that extra margin to the last mile customer.
Okay.
That's the second part. We have an inventory holding model, which means we stock our own inventory in our own warehouses. So in Calcutta, in Guwahati, whichever markets we're operating,
Mm.
we'll have warehouses. We'll source from the manufacturer or the producer or the, of course, farmer or the distributor, stock it, and as and when the customer orders, we dispatch it to his or her house on the last mile. So typically, if you buy on the Gobillion app today in Calcutta or Guwahati, whichever market you're
Mm.
operating, uh, you will get your product delivered tomorrow to your house.
Okay.
And lastly, Priya, how we make money, which I think every investor is also interested about, on how this business makes money. So I think what happens is this is a game of scale as well, right? As and when we are aggregating more customers on a city or a zip code, we
Mm.
drive down the CAC, the customer acquisition cost. Right? So
Right.
typically, if you benchmark us against legacy e-commerce players, our CAC over time is almost 30-40% of what another competition spend. The reason is very simple because users like you and me, Priya, are sharing with our friends and bringing our friends also on the app, right? Which means
Mm.
the new customers that are coming in, which is in your friend circle or my friend circle, the company is not paying any acquisition cost for that, right? So over time, the CAC falls down substantially, the customer acquisition cost. While
Okay.
for other companies, the companies kind of serving in big cities,
Mm.
that CAC keeps on growing up or it's almost stable, like it never comes down beyond the point. And secondly, is the last mile or the logistics part. Because we aggregate a lot of orders on the last mile, because
Mm.
you're also sharing with the neighbors and all that, my last mile delivery cost is also on average, much, optimized, much better than my competition as well. So for
Right.
example, let's say we start targeting a mohalla and try and drive demand in the mohalla or a pin code or a
Mm.
locality. users will be sharing amongst the locality or the neighbors as well, right? So,
Yeah.
we can send a tempo or a vehicle there as compared to a two-wheeler, right? You'll see a lot of quick commerce companies, they'll send you a two-wheeler on a delivery on a bike or a scooty. That
Mm.
is very expensive, right?
Yeah.
Giving one delivery on a scooty to a specific household is much more expensive than sending, let's say, 50 deliveries on a tempo and going to a specific pin code or last mile spot. That is where we save money on the logistics as well. So as this business keeps growing and we start aggregating more customers by social sharing, and my customer cost goes down,
Mm.
and we deliver more products on a zip code and we drive more last mile, so that my logistics cost comes down as well. And
Yeah.
finally, of course, because we're sourcing better, we at the end scale or the end state, we source everything from manufacturers as we grow bigger. So
Mm.
at that three levels, we make money, right? That is over time. That's how we build a sustainable business by bringing better sourcing margins, driving the customer cost down, acquisition cost down, and of course, driving the logistics cost down. So net, that's how group buying works much better than any other e-commerce player in the market over time.
Okay, awesome. I think that is a interesting model. And one thing I noticed was you moved from one city to another. Uh, Unlike the large e-commerce players who kind of give one size fits all approach and approach the whole market simultaneously, like Amazon or Flipkarts of the world. So can you tell us what is the benefit of such a approach where you uh, first completely acquire a smaller market and then move on and use that virality effect versus broadcast to a larger market, for example, India?
God, I think great question. So see, there's no like one size fits all approach, right? Of course, we really respect the kind of growth Amazon or Flipkart has done, right? And they're literally like the pioneers of e-commerce, I think, both globally or in India specifically as well. So I think that depends on the ecosystem, right? So when Flipkart or Amazon launched, if you remember, Flipkart launched with books, right? Then they started getting into, let's say, electronics or fashion for that matter. So they realized that these are categories which they can start serving across the country, and people will have similar needs in terms of electronics or fashion beyond the point. And of course, then they start quickly scaling up as well. So at that point of time, 2010, 2013, within that period, the companies realized that we have to scale quickly, and we have to change the customer behavior. Right, back in 2010, people are still buying from mom and pop stores, still buying from kirana stores, still buying from a, let's say, big bazaar, or going to a fashion retail store. So the problem that Flipkart and Amazon were solving was not that they were trying to compete with other e-commerce players. They're competing against other retail stores or kirana stores, right? And that's why they said, hey, we'll go quickly and scale up quickly. We have to change the customer behavior, because my customer is still buying from a retail store. Let us now encourage the customer to kind of buy from Flipkart or Amazon or other e-commerce players, so that they get used to this new way of buying. That's why they launch categories which are very generic, like electronics, fashion, to an extent, let's say beauty and cosmetics as well. But again, of course, as they started growing, they also realized this one size fits all policy doesn't work, especially for the new customers which I mentioned coming in, right? They have very different needs. And that's why you'll also see now the largest companies also now have started getting into social commerce, right?
Mm.
Be it Flipkart, they've launched Flipkart Shipsy. Amazon is trying to get into live commerce. They've acquired a couple of social commerce companies also. They also realized that to get this new set of customers for small towns, they have to reinvent themselves. They have to do some new, e-commerce plays as well, which is also happening right now as we speak.
So we compared against likes of Amazon and Flipkart, but there are new players like Meesho, which is kind of bringing in the same elements of local focus, social element, and bulk buying, everything that you are also doing. And they're also quite big right now. So, in a way, they have also proved the model that you are experimenting. How do you? I mean, what did you say to that? How do you see the? What is your differentiator from Miso kind of players, and how do you plan to battle?
Absolutely. Thanks for the question. So Meesho, of course, is a YC company. We really admire the company, right? They've done phenomenally well, especially starting in 2015, 2016. But fundamentally, Priya, the business models are very different, right? So social commerce is largely three business models. One is the reseller model or the influencer model, which Meesho operates in. So Meesho traditionally used to have a lot of resellers or influencers in small towns, and that person will go and try and cross sell to other people in the neighborhood. It's like an insurance agent. Like if you've seen growing up, you'll have insurance agents or the Samway sales people. they'll go to different households in the social community and try and cross sell. And Meesho does very similar model. That's a reseller model. You have other companies in City Mall also does the same model as well.
Mm.
Second is live commerce or video commerce. We have seen Bulbul, we have seen Simpson,
Yeah.
which have influencers on the app, and they'll do some live streaming or recorded streaming of products they like to advertise, and you can buy from the same app. That's video commerce or live commerce. The
Mm.
third category of social commerce where we are the pioneers in is B2C group buying, which means customers and customers like when we, right? We are buying for our own households. I want to share deals with each other, or even the people who don't know each other directly and buy that directly. There is no middleman, there is no agent or reseller in the middle. It's a purely
Mm.
B2C transaction of users like you and me who are buying for their own households are buying. Now, how we see this model evolve, of course, especially if you look at small town, the market is massive. If you
Mm.
only focus on the category you're serving, which is grocery, daily essentials, it's a big market. Right? There's
Right.
significant amount of room for different players in competition to exist and coexist as well. Uh, and of course, and over time, of course, I see a lot of consolidation also happening on the economy as well. But right now, it's a big market. Competition will exist, but everyone has their own take of how they want to treat the market as well. And of course, we respect that. While also at the same time, we are also very bullish and excited about what we are building as well, because we've seen this model really succeed in other emerging economies similar to India as well. And we are kind of one of the first movers in this space. We are also very bullish on how fast we're growing as well, and
Mm.
and, and taking this to the next level.
Okay. Uh, can you tell us about some hacks, some growth hacks that you have deployed for acquiring the users? One you mentioned, like the referrals through which you have very small, low customer acquisition cost, and I think that that has worked really well for you. Apart from that, any other hacks that you applied to acquire users?
So I think I can recollect a couple of them now, which is top of my mind. I think
Right.
first was a lot of BTL or on the ground marketing, right? So we targeted a lot of, because we are very clear who my customer is, right? We are very clear that the customer is someone who is a lower income customer segment or a middle income customer segment. So
Mm.
we did a lot of on the ground marketing initiatives on mohallas, specific localities, apartment complexes where we knew our customers stayed, right? So we'll
Mm.
have this. We used to call them hotspots. So we'll go to a specific mohalla, we'll go to a specific housing society, put a hotspot there. There'll be some couple of promoters or Gobillion marketing guys who will do some engagement activities, get the crowd excited, make them experience the Gobillion app. They'll see, hey, you can share and get a much set of discounts as well. So the on the ground marketing initiatives has been a strong growth hack for us. We have done significant amount of that. In fact, we have this interesting concept known as Gobillion Mohalla Dukan as well. What we do is we take a tempo, we load it with some items like potatoes, tomatoes, onions, atta, chawal, very small
Mm.
items, and we
Mm.
go to a specific mohalla, right? And we take our marketing team and all the guys go there, and the crowd comes in, right? We get the crowd in, and they say what is happening. We say, you're getting this item at the best price possible. Potatoes at 10 rupees, onions at 20 rupees. People get really excited, and we
Mm.
tell them the only thing way you get this is, of course, download the Gobillion app and get and share this with someone that you know, like your own family or neighbors. And people do that, and they get the item on the spot. They get really excited, and we drove a lot of customer acquisition that way as well. And
Okay.
then thirdly, I think is and finally is the products that you've selected. Like we are very clear on what my customer consumes, what kind of products they want, what kind of products they're very price conscious about, and what kind of
Mm.
products they are liable to share with other people as well. So the assortment that I've built out is very curated, very focused,
Mm.
good mix of regional brands and national brands as well. And
Mm.
people just love the assortment and the price points as well.
Mm.
That's how I think we've grown a lot of demand as well.
Mm. Okay.
Sure.
Uh, One more question around product. When you build a e-commerce product, one key challenge is how do you make the customer open that app again? Even Flipkart and Amazon struggle with it, but some companies like Facebook or Instagram, they have cracked it really well, sticking the user, making sure that they every morning when they wake up, they open that app. So can you tell us, is there some strategies or some tricks, techniques that you are deploying at your end to make sure that every morning when customer wakes up, they'll open your app and probably order a onion, 1 kg onion and 1 kg atta?
I think that's a great assessment. Of course, the dream for every e-commerce player to be having as active users that a Facebook or Instagram has, right? So their retention or their DAUs, MAUs is called, like daily active users or monthly active users, like it's super high, right?
Mm.
WhatsApp, for example, will like leading the pack. WhatsApp has like very super active, daily active users or monthly active users, and that's probably like top of the funnel. Right? But I think how we look at e-commerce, and I think where we also see the model going, of course, e-commerce, because people transact on only specific occasions. If it's grocery, they'll transact, maybe once a week or let's say twice a month, for example.
mm,
Or if it's only electronics, maybe people will buy an electronics item every 3 months, every 6 months, right? So Amazon, Flipkart, or the larger e-commerce space has this problem that, hey, how do we get people to come back again and again on the app? And not necessarily only for buying, right? We just want people to come and browse and at some level get take an impulsive decision. Hey, I've seen this product like a new phone, let me buy this product. Or maybe I've seen this new very nice coffee mug, let me buy this product. So, and we have done this, right? What I think at some level, how social commerce or group buying works is the reason. So I'll tell you how why customers come to the app for Gobillion. Of course, we're still growing early days. We have a lot to achieve, not long road to go. But we have seen very early behavior on customers why they keep on coming back. And when we go and talk to them and ask them why do you open the Gobillion app whenever you open it, right?
mm,
First is I think we send a lot of push notifications, right? Internal notification that whenever there's a new deal coming in, let's say there's a 6 p.m. hot deal, let's say
mm.
there's a 12 p.m. crazy deal that we're sending out. So the app will send the notification on the customer's app, which I think everyone does. Swiggy does that,
Right.
Zomato does
Yeah.
that, right? And people we've seen are clicking that deals as well. And more so because they can also see the friends also buying that. I'll do the extra element why this succeeds, right? So let's say Priya, I sent you a notification on the Gobillion app. You'll get like tons of notification, right? Zomato will
Yeah.
be sending that, Swiggy will be sending that. So I kind of remove this notification, right?
Uh,
The reason why you're liable to open is because you'll also see Priya, 10 of your friends also buying this item, right? Or maybe 10 of your
yeah.
neighbors also buying this item. But
Yeah.
the extra social element that comes in gets you very excited. Who are the 10 friends buying? Whom I might know. Who are the 10 neighbors that are buying from my locality or mohalla? Whom I might know. That's why people open the app.
Yeah.
That you have seen, number one. And number two, also, as I mentioned, that users are sharing as well. Let's say, I install the app and I've not used it for the last 2 weeks.
Mm,
Now, more often than not, some neighbor or some friend of mine might share a deal with me on WhatsApp. And I'll see the WhatsApp, hey, Priya, share this deal with me. Let me see kya deal chal raha hai, right? What's is me, Gobillion me. So I'll click that app, and that's how you've seen a lot of users also come back who might have stopped using the Gobillion app over dormant because
mm.
their friends are sharing or they're getting push notifications saying that your X number of friends are buying this item or Y number of neighbors are also buying this. That's how that social element is adding a lot of value for retaining customers on the app. And the way we see this problem, this is the last thought. We don't want customers to only come and buy, right? That's the problem that normal e-commerce faces because they're only telling them buy, buy, buy. We want
Mm.
the customer to come and experience the app. Of course, they're free to buy. That's the main journey. But there's a lot of social features, a lot of games, a lot of gamification features that are built in. So users come to the app just to experience the app also. And at some element, they get motivated. Hey, let me buy this item as well while I'm using the app or playing a game within the app as well. That's how I think that is happening.
Okay. Uh, Now moving towards the personal side of being an entrepreneur, can you tell us what made you to be an entrepreneur, or what triggered the entrepreneurial thing in you?
I think it's a something that of course is very personal. Let me share what happened
Yeah.
in my personal journey. So I come from middle class family, like in Guwahati. No one in my family, like no one in my family has ever done business or started a company at all. Right. So typically, they were all in government jobs or in
Mm,
service-based
mm, mm.
jobs, right? So the firstly, I think I had to kind of overcome a lot of family friction or family opposition because they were just kind of nervous or probably apprehensive that hey, if I take this jump, will I succeed or not? And just to give a personal perspective, right? I have probably not covered that as well. I have a BTech in computer science engineering from NIT. I did an MBA from IIM, and I was
Mhm.
working in management consulting for 5 years, Deloitte,
Okay.
US, EY, and Accenture. So I was doing pretty well in terms of my corporate career, right?
Mm.
So
Yeah.
Deloitte, EY, Accenture, previously IIM as well, IIM MBA. So my parents are appreciative. Hey, you're already doing a good corporate job. Why are you leaving that good job
Mm.
with a fat paycheck and
Mm.
championship, right? But there is no guarantee of success. So the
Yeah.
first challenge I faced was how do I convince my parents or mostly my extended family that whatever decision I'm taking is probably the right one. That's the first level I think everyone faces. I think in India,
Yeah.
whenever you say that you want to be a startup founder or entrepreneur, you get a significant amount of family opposition unless your family already is in business, right? So let's say
Right.
a lot of my
Right.
friends who started their own companies had families who were very supportive because they were in business themselves, right? So that
Mm. Mm.
ecosystem is very mature in the family itself. But a lot of my personal friends and even my co-founder Gulpati, we face the same problem, right? No one has done business in the family at all, and we have to kind of encounter that challenge. But Priya, just to kind of be very honest with you, and why I wanted to really start up, I think that goes back to my engineering days, right? I think even though I was studying computer science, I realized I'll never be the best coder in the world, right? I used to be pretty average in coding. I was good in computer science fundamentals. I was good in
Okay.
algorithms, OS, and all that. but coding really kind of didn't excite me at all. So I realized at some level I'll end up going in management. And also during college itself, I was leading a lot of student organizations. I was leading the student common body for computer science department in college. I started this new initiative known as ISEC in NIT Silchar. ISEC is the world's largest student organization. Started the first chapter in Northeast India. I also kind of launched and kind of piloted a government initiative with Microsoft India. So what Microsoft did, and I was a Microsoft student partner for Northeast India at the point in time, it's around 2011. Uh, Microsoft entered into agreement with Government of Assam to train around 6,000 common school teachers in small villages with IT skills and giving them IT tools and assets. That was something I drove with the Government of Assam, and Microsoft. So what I realized was I loved leading, initiatives and leading and getting a team around it, and of course chasing some, goal or mission, right? And that started coming through, especially third year of undergrad engineering or fourth year college. Now, when I had a job offer, I joined Accenture in tech consulting in Pune. So I think and fortunately, I had a lot of mentors, who guided me a lot, right? Some mentors who were, very prominent entrepreneurs themselves. A lot of my college alumni were very successful, and just, senior friends of mine who were very extremely helpful and, forthcoming, and who helped me, So I realized that, hey, I have to do an MBA so that I get into management, and then over time, get something of my own. But I was still very unclear, right? It's like 2014 I'm talking about, when I entered in IIM. So I was very confused. Do I start a company just out of IIM? Do I work for some time? Do I get some exposure? So IIM days went pretty well. I think I was in IIM Shillong, 2 years there. Fabulous place, great, students, great, faculty. So in 2016 was another pivotal moment for me, right? So I had a couple of job offers from EY, a couple of other companies, and I also wanted to kind of start up directly from campus, right? So I remember one of my mentors and well-wishers at the point of time told me that, hey, Roshan, why don't you join a consulting job in EY? Get some real-world exposure to business, right? Because till then, you're not got significant exposure. So join consulting, get as much business exposure as possible. And at some point in the future, after 3, 4 years, come back and start your company. People will also respect you for the knowledge you have. And you'll also see on the ground how business operates. And I took that, advice to heart, right? I said, okay, I'll join, EY at the point of time, 2016 in Gurgaon, got into management consulting. Fortunately, had a great team, great set of colleagues, and and I really kind of immersed myself into consulting. I learned a lot about business across e-commerce, retail, fintech, financial services, and I realized that, hey, after a certain amount of time, and I also had some student loan as well. So because of my MBA degree, I had to pay back a loan to the bank. So I realized I have to save some money as well before I jump ship. तो मैंने थोड़ा planning किया था ऐसे कि, after 3, 4 years I'll probably jump ship. So I think the pivotal moment, I think the third pivotal moment in my life came around December 2019. At that point of time, thankfully my student loans were met. I'd worked for roughly almost 3.5, 4 years in consulting across Deloitte, US, and EY, got significant exposure to e-commerce as well. And at that point of time, fortunately, I got awarded this Economic Times Young Leader for India in 2019.
Okay.
And that's like a Forbes 30 or 30, but for corporate, leaders, right? And that's when I realized that, probably this is the high point of my corporate life. Let me leave corporate at a high point rather than a low point. That's when I kind of put in my papers. And Jan 2020, just before the pandemic, I was, kind of out of a corporate job, and I wanted to kind of start up. I had a couple of ideas that I was discussing with Kulpradeep, my, close friend. Kulpradeep and I were batchmates in NIT, right? We were the same hostel. Our rooms were next to each other. We were very, very close friends for the last 15 years.
Okay.
So I said, hey, I'm out of corporate, and we had a couple of, problems that we're kind of trying to solve for. But our focus was very clear. We said, we will always solve for small town India, whatever problem we solve, right? And the problem of e-commerce or commerce in general for small town really excited us because we are starting to see the challenges, especially during the pandemic itself, right? When the pandemic came and everything shut down, I saw my own friends and family struggle with e-commerce apps and all that because they're not used to buying e-commerce, right? They're only buying groceries from a Kirana store next door. That's when we saw the opportunity. That's how Gobillion was launched. We registered the company in 2020, May 2020. Got a initial team together, set of interns, some guys. We built an app out. We had no money, so it was just my saving and Kulpati's saving. We just got some, a little bit of money together. Got the first version of the app out, and then commercially started the operations from Feb 2021. Thankfully, just in a couple of months, we got into Y Combinator. We got into Y Combinator in April 2021. And probably the rest is history. I think it's grown substantially since then. But of course, it was a lot of struggle as well. People might just see kind of the successes, limited success we're doing right now. But that phase between, maybe the entire 2020 and let's say almost half of 2021, when we are very unsure that we're just putting our life savings, I quit my full-time corporate job, and we don't know where it's going. it's a lot of struggle. But what I think what kept on guiding us, me and Kulpreet and the team, was that we knew this was a big problem to be solved. We knew we had it in us to solve this with the right team at scale, and we are very clear on that. So that way, I think we kept on sustaining, right? Even though we are getting some early failures there, we are
Mm,
very sure that we are in it for the long haul. We have better lives on it. There is no plan B. And this is something that a lot of my people, they just tell me, right? Roshan, if this doesn't succeed, what is your plan B? I said,
mm,
there is no plan B. My plan B is to make sure the plan A succeeds, right? There is no plan B. I'll go back to a corporate job. I'll start another side business. I'll do some consulting on the side, right? मेरा वही फोकस था कि मुझे ये करना है. I have to do it, and I'll do everything possible to make it succeed, right? So the moment you have a backup plan, ये मेरा startup succeed नहीं हुआ, I'll go back to some other plan B, or let me do a corporate job on the side and try and build a startup on the side. That doesn't work. I was very clear, and I tried that also, by the way. I did not quit my job for some time, right? I quit Deloitte in 2019. I thought maybe I'll continue the corporate job and do a startup on the side. That doesn't work. Either you are all in full time, or might as well not be there full time as well. I think that's how I think each person journey was.
So I have just one more question left. I wish I had more time, and there were some questions around scale and all. But let's limit it to just one more question. What is the meaning of entrepreneurship for you? How would you define the term entrepreneur? Who is an entrepreneur as per you?
I think tough question. Let me make an attempt. Right? So I think entrepreneur is someone, I think, on two three levels, right? Someone who takes a problem that is happening in the society or the business world on the personal lives and tries to solve for it, right? In a very innovative way. Number one. Number two, an entrepreneur is someone who might not have all the resources that he or she requires at a point in time. So you have to kind of do some jugaad, do some find out some innovative ways to make the business plan work. But initially, when you start, you'll not have enough money, you'll not have people to back you up, you'll not have the resources. But I think where your entrepreneurial skill set is put to test is when you have nothing and you just have one or two guys working with you. How do you make this happen at almost zero resources, zero skills, almost zero things working in your favor? And finally, when you taste some early success, I think a true test of an entrepreneur's character is how do you keep on building with the same momentum, same passion, same energy that you had when you started up? I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs when they face some early success, they sometimes get complacent, sometimes get distracted, maybe get the success on the head. You have
Yeah.
to keep building with the same passion, same humility, same I think energy as well. I think humility is very important. At the end, if you look back in your entrepreneurial journey, whatever success you've had, I think what really matters is how have you touched people's lives in a positive way? Did the people working with you, your colleagues or early team members, did they love or enjoy working with you?
Mm,
And have you stayed humble and I think grounded over the entire journey? I think that's an entrepreneur, right? As I
mm,
mentioned, almost zero resources to start off, get a team around, keep building the same passion, and always stay grounded
yeah.
for the long term.
Nicely
And
explained.
and and, and Priya, just one side note, right?
Yeah.
And one small thing I wanted to add as well, because I come from Assam, right? You'll see all the entrepreneurs mostly will be starting a company from a, let's say, a Delhi or a Bangalore or Bombay, right? You'll
Mm,
barely see any entrepreneurs, for whatever historical reasons, from the northeast part of the country. And
mm,
more so, a YC company starting its operation in Guwahati in northeast, right? So we had our own set of challenges there as well. We said, hey, even though we are registered the company in New Delhi, and now of course the company's headquarters is in San Francisco, and of course the India head office is in New Delhi. But we
mm,
said we'll start from an underserved city like Guwahati, where no one really starts a business, right? Where it's much more challenging to start an e-commerce company compared
mm,
to a Bangalore because the ecosystem is
mm,
still developing.
yeah.
And that is also something that we also are very cognizant about, or at some level we also feel proud about that we built a world-class company from Guwahati and now scaling across the country as well. I think, and also I think I also and there's so much of entrepreneurial talent in Northeast India. People are so much talented. There's so much of rich human capital. I
Mm,
think what they sometimes lack is the ecosystem to support them, or the angel investments to support them, or just the ecosystem. And but I foresee a lot more entrepreneurs coming from small towns in India, be it Northeast, be it Central India, be it North India. But I think that now the generation has come where you'll see significant world-class entrepreneurs coming from tier two, tier three cities in India and building world-class companies. That's what really excites me as well.
yeah, I think that is a good thing you did, starting from Guwahati, because if you are building for tier two cities, it's a best idea to start from tier two cities. And if something is tried and tested in a market like Guwahati, it is for sure going to work across different markets. Uh, well, on this note, I think we will end the discussion. Thanks for your time, Roshan, and our Best wishes for
Absolutely.
Gobillion.
Thank you so much. It was my honor and privilege to come and exchange my stories with you, Priya, and all the best for your ELI as well. Super excited for what you will.
Thank you, Roshan.